Hey guys, welcome to Silicon Valley Girl. Today we have a very special guest. Ayush is the founder of Pesto Tech, and you are changing lives of Indians by helping them work for American companies.
Yeah.
Is that the right description
Absolutely.
of what you're doing?
Yeah.
Nice. Can you talk about how many students have you helped so far?
About 1,000 engineers have gone through Pesto in some form or the other. And about a few hundred of them work at companies based in US particularly, and the rest of them work in, the rest of the world.
Guys, I want to quickly pause here and thank one of my favorite companies in the world that I use every single day for sponsoring this video. I know a lot of you use Notion as your second brain or as an extension of your memory, and I do the same. I use Notion as my assistant, which keeps all my information about my personal work projects in one perfectly organized place. And now with the new AI features, Notion has become even smarter. Let me show you how I use Notion AI in my daily life. My favorite thing is the QA assistant. I've been using Notion for several years now, and I have tons of different worksheets and databases that my team or I have created. The problem I've been having lately is finding information about all of those pages. But with the QA assistant, this is not an issue anymore. The assistant provides instant answers to all my questions using information from across the entire workspace. For example, I can ask, what movie can I recommend to a friend? And it gives me a list. It's like having a librarian who can look through everything I've ever written in Notion and find the correct data in a second. The second new feature that I love is the AI writing assistant, which has drastically reduced the time I spend writing scripts for my videos. Here's what I do. First, I give it long or technical texts and ask it to summarize them in simple words. Then I write a rough draft of the script and ask the Notion AI to make my writing short and concise. And when the final version is ready, I ask the AI to double check my grammar, since English is not my native language. And the best part is that Notion AI is in the same place where I do my work. I don't need to constantly hop between my notes and a separate AI-powered tool. You can get started with Notion for free and unlock the power of AI for only $10 a month. I'll leave the link in the description below this video. Thank you, Notion, for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back to our conversation with Ayush. And so the business model is that do they take it for free? Like, how does it work?
Oh, no. So we actually ended up evolving. We first came up with a program in which we used to teach people as well. But we realized that the demand for junior engineers just went downhill.
Because of AI?
So AI has something to contribute to it. Because of AI, we need fewer number of developers, right? So the good engineers basically became more valuable.
Got it.
And then the space is getting crunched also because of markets not being in the right spot, right?
Yeah.
So then we had more supply than what's needed. So we basically became a platform where we get engineers all across the world now, and they list themselves on the platform, and then companies hire them for remote jobs.
How do you make money as a company?
We make money from companies. We basically charge a subscription fee, and we take a % of the cut.
Interesting. But it used to be a different model before. And I wanted to highlight that because a lot of people, so from a student standpoint, it totally makes sense to learn for free and then give away part of your income.
Absolutely.
And I know Lambda, they sell,
They did that.
they have batches of students and then they sell this debt to financial institutions.
Absolutely.
Was that something you did?
That's exactly what we did.
And it didn't work out?
So the reason why we stopped doing that is because, we had a decent chunk of our engineers who ended up getting life-changing outcomes. And I think what people miss is that a large chunk of those engineers also will not get those outcomes because a part in this relationship is also driven by how capable they are and their hard work and things like that, right? So by design, you will have more people who are not as, who won't get the desired result, right? Yeah. And also the model had its own flaws, which financially I think was not as sustainable. And I think we are going through a shift in the market in last years particularly, where we realized that, training more engineers make a lot of sense, especially when you are short on engineers, right? But we live in a world where craziness of 2021 is gone and things are a lot more realistic. And suddenly we have a lot more engineers than we need, particularly right now, right? So I think we had to adopt to, suit the business as well. But yes, we started like that. We had, I think the first 100 engineers who went through Pesto ended up getting 7x better pay in less than 3 months of program. And that was really exciting for them. And I loved the fact that we won only when they did. But I think as we kept on scaling the program, let's say some engineers were obviously winning big, but there was like more than 50% engineers who won't win as big. And I always built the company saying we win only when you do. And in this case, I realized that it's just not possible for them to win, right? Yeah. So we wanted to come up with something which is basically free for everyone and still helps them get opportunities across the world and have those life-changing outcomes, right? So we have a bunch of developers who list themselves on Pesto today. We, of course, can't train them anymore, but people who are hardworking and they learn by themselves and they're capable, who are not discovered by, let's say, companies around the world, we give them a platform to get access to these opportunities, and that ends up being pretty life-changing for them as well.
It's interesting, and thank you for being honest about like the business model, because I feel like a lot of companies, they want to start with something like this because it looks easy from the sales standpoint. But I see like all of the companies who did this, I've seen them pivot to something different.
Yeah, when we launched it in our month 1, we had like amazing numbers. And it was easy for us to basically sell more programs in month 2, 3, and 4. But even in month 1, we ended up deciding to not scale the program because I wanted to see what the outcome is, right? It takes like months for them to go through the program and then get placed. And if they did not get placed, then something is wrong in the program, right? So the way I like thinking about this is that, is this model or business going to sustain and grow 10 years down the line? And if the answer is no, if there are especially design issues in the business, then it's just impossible to solve them, right?
When did you pivot?
We did that like last year.
Last year?
Yeah,
how has it been?
It's been great. I think we suddenly realized that our core mission was always to help engineers across the world get the right access to opportunities. And that's what really drove me. And we realized we can still continue to do that. The only difference is that we were short on engineers earlier, and so we had to like train more people and get them to the same level. But we feel that there are enough engineers out there today, and we can be an enabler. And it's better to solve one problem and focus on that rather than solving multiple problems, right? So I think we are just focused on being the platform which can give fair opportunity to a lot of engineers out there.
So the engineers, how much do they pay you to be on the platform? Or they don't?
Engineers pay nothing.
So you just vet them.
Exactly. We vet them and we use AI now to do that. And we believe that most of this... So here's the thing that I think is going to happen in the next few years, right? Recruitment as a business is just extremely, extremely manual, right? And Google, for example, when Google came in, Google basically ranked every single page. So now you don't have to look at, 10 different pages in order to find something which is convenient for you. And if you really want to experience what Google has solved, then you should probably try and search on Bing or whatever.
Yeah, but now we're in the next era when you just ask AI and it just gives you the right answer, and that's 100%. It. You don't have to scroll.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that the Google moment equivalent for recruitment is going to happen in the next couple of years, and that's what we are trying to do. So we take software engineers, we make them do a take-home challenge. They build something. They build a snake game or whatever they like, right? We have a bunch of assignments. They build something. We analyze that code using AI, and then we are able to match the right people. We believe that there are of course you have a baseline, so it's hard to get listed on the platform because people go through interviews. But beyond that, there are no good or bad employees. There are good fit and bad fit developers, right? So what we do is that we just gave access to companies. They come in, they share the job description, and they get matched instantly, right? And we also have a co-pilot baked into the product. So once you look at profiles and you go through a bunch of profiles, you can be like, I spoke to, Suzanne. Show me more people like Suzanne. It'll show you more people like Suzanne because it can map the skill sets of Suzanne and constantly feed in more profiles. So I think that is completely going to get rid of. I've worked with recruiters in the past, and I feel like it's so manual, and they're not incentivized to, do the right thing. Because as a recruiter, if I'm working based on a success fee, I will optimize for higher volume, right? Which means I'll just throw a bunch of profiles at you, see what you like, right? But that ends up wasting a lot of time for companies. I think that's just gonna, in an ideal world, companies are just going to write a job description, and AI is going to help them find 2 or 3 engineers which are the best fit. You talk to 2, 3 people, and instead of doing all the other things, you basically sell to these people that, hey, here's why you should join the company, right?
What about, like, let's talk about the whole AI disruption of the space. Because it feels like I've talked to a couple of people who are building like schools for manual testing. And they're like, yes, you need to, well, manual testing could be taken over potentially by AI. So you have to learn how to, actually write code that tests everything. What is your take on this? What do you think is going to happen to the industry in like 5 years?
I think like we will probably still have engineers around in 5 years, but they will just do like better things, right? Like they're all, as an engineer, if you ask good engineers, hey, do you like writing manual tests? They will probably say no, right? And in fact, the same argument could have been made about frameworks back in 5-10 years ago. We have so many frameworks today which engineers can use to make things more efficient, so they don't have to write from scratch every single time. AI is going to do something similar. Instead of doing like those kind of work, you can basically use your time to do something even more meaningful, right? So AI is going to basically make a lot of things which we do today redundant, absolutely yes, but it's also going to come up with more opportunities, with more things which people could do, and they'll find it more exciting. So I think, and in this phase of transition, people who are, can adopt to change really quickly will have the opportunity of their lifetime, because AI is like once in a few decades kind of thing.
And it also happens so fast.
Exactly.
Like nothing
yes.
before.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to engineers? So you mentioned like beginner software engineers, you don't really work with them anymore because there is no that much demand. What would be your advice to those people?
I think like learning constantly, right? Like, look, we have, as a company, we have to move with the market, right? And I think if you're smart, you should also move with the market, right? So if I'm a junior engineer in the market, I'm constantly going to work on my own skill set, because in future, people are only going to hire based on skill sets. Even in present, nobody cares about degrees anymore, right?
I don't know. Comment below, because I feel like I just talked to another entrepreneur yesterday. And he was like, when we hire for top positions, we only look at top 3 schools. We don't look at anything.
Oh, so let me actually put this in the right context, right? If I am, at Pesto, majority of our team, of our leadership team, is either from IIT or IIM, which is like an MIT, Stanford equivalent of India, right? Now, the reason that's there is not because we only want to hire from these schools, but the probability of them being great increases, right? And these schools basically end up creating a massive selection bias at that stage itself, which creates a great efficient funnel for you, right? So if you tell me, Ayush, you have to hire for this position and you have to hire quickly, I'll probably go to better schools because the probability of me finding someone is just higher, right? Yeah. But that does not mean that I won't hire people who are not from great schools.
Yeah, but still, like, the market is, if it's an AI just looking for a candidate, then yes, like...
It will definitely have some biases for certain kind of positions, but I think the volume of people that we need today is just so large. And I think also given the fact that you can now measure skills, like skills are going to become more and more and more measurable, right?
With AI?
With AI, yeah. Correct. Then it doesn't matter. I know a lot of other companies have tried doing it before. In the pre-AI age, there are plenty of companies who tried doing this, but I think with AI, that shift can finally happen.
And wow, yeah, that is interesting. So your advice would be just keep learning
and building things. Yes, I think build things which you can showcase, right? And I think that can lead to good outcomes. And of course, like I think next few months we are headed for a rough phase, and that's okay. But I think now is the time to be building. If you're focused on, and that's what we are doing as a company as well, right? That's what everybody should be doing.
So you predict more layoffs? Is that what you mean by rough times?
If I could predict things, I would be on the Wall Street.
I know. but what's your company's strategy based on what you think is going to happen?
So I think like for us at our scale, scale, probably we are slightly more immune to macros than some of the other large companies because the number of customers we need at the scale is not as large, and so on and so forth. There is a lot of action which is happening in the startup land, and I feel that that's good enough for us. But I think in this month particularly, like January, I've seen the market is coming back based on our data. People are hiring again, and slowly it's getting back. But I think I'm expecting a slow recovery, like the sort of madness that we got used to in 2021. I don't think that's coming back anytime soon.
Do you see this shift from going back to the office shift? Because there is a lot of discussion around 100%. That, but your employees, right? Your developers are based in India, right? They don't come here, so they work for American companies, but they stay remote.
Oh well, we have developers in US as well now, but our philosophy is very simple, right? And I'm a big remote work person, but when I have a startup who wants to hire from us, right? And if they're hiring their first or second engineer for particular kind of positions, I do not recommend Pesto. Right? The reason being very simple, that being in proximity comes up with a lot of other advantages, and it's not that in remote work that's not possible. It's totally doable, right? Yeah. But it's another added variable on top. You don't want that, right? Now, as the company becomes bigger and bigger, the opportunity cost is very high for you, right? So it's hard to find people and stuff like that, right? And if you look at certain individual contributor roles or people with some management experience in remote, right? They have been running companies in a very efficient manner. So it's possible, but it's a skill set which not a lot of people have, right?
Especially if you're a startup. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you really look at large companies, right? Let's say I'm a 1,000 employee company. My people are already on different floors. How is that different from remote work? Or if you have an office in different parts of the world, you're already remote. So what you're really solving for is discipline, right? Now that discipline could be brought in by, having an office space and having a time to come together and stuff like that. Or that discipline could be brought in consciously for, being able to work remote. And I think there are a lot of other advantages of being remote, like the ability to stay with your family, not pay $1 gazillion in rent, and and things like that, right? So I think it's pros and cons. So it's not one way or the other. I think like in terms of volume, majority of people are still going to opt for hybrid work, and that's understandable, and I'm totally game for it. And I support that as well. For certain roles, I would also consider that at Pesto. But I think remote is also here to stay. So it's not either or, right? Yeah. I think both kind of works.
Both worlds exist.
Exactly.
You need to decide which world you're in. Interesting. Can you share some numbers? How big is your team now? How many people you employed last year?
Oh, not a lot. So I think our team is lean, and we want to keep it lean. It's about 30 people.
Are they all India here?
A majority are based in India, yes. And I think in terms of developers, we started launching this AI product. In a very startup-y manner. I believe in iterating based on taking feedback and things like that. So from very early days, we just made the product live. People were coming in, playing around with it, listing themselves, etc., etc. The product wasn't finished until early January, right? But in last 4 to 5 months, we had about 30,000 people who organically came in, no ads.
30,000 people?
Yes.
And how many end up being on the platform?
Very few. Like we have accepted like 700 only so far.
Wow.
And
so it's like 3% accepted?
Yes. Yeah. So 700 are like verified and accepted. And we have another bunch who have created their profiles but don't have the assessment approval from us, right? So they can still be there because some people might be looking for them. But I think we provide like a verified or vetted badge, which is there with.
And so out of those 700, how many found jobs?
So I think we basically have been selling subscription. So companies take the subscription and they hire. So it's very hard.
You don't really track.
Yes, exactly. That's right. So, and that's where I think I want to go. Like if I look at the other side of the market, right? As a company, I am hiring people. And the moment I look at middlemen, it just becomes expensive, right? The average take rate of a marketplace or on-demand marketplace is basically anywhere between 35 to 45%, right? And I've heard numbers as high as 60, 70%, right? In that case, I just feel that the value is not going to the developer. So they're not incentivized to do higher quality work and, like really dedicate their lives to wherever they're working, right? So I feel that we want to bring that arbitrage down.
Yeah, and it's also more predictable for you as a company.
Exactly.
If you have a subscription.
100%. Having a subscription is more predictable. Per company, our revenue is going to probably go down, but I think the stickiness is going to remain and we'll have a long tail of customers.
Yes.
So that's what we are thinking about.
That's great. Are you thinking of raising more? I know you raised 2 million, right?
We raised 4.5, but we'll see. I think we are launching this product, and depending upon we have been shown a lot of love by developers. I think we'll be launching, next month or so on Product Hunt.
Oh,
thank you. Yeah,
great.
And depending upon the response, we'll basically figure out whether it's a smart move to fundraise, or if we are able to make a lot of money and grow quickly as well, then I think it might make sense for us to grow without fundraising. We'll see, but we can make that decision in March. Yeah.
Nice. Let's go back to your story. We met with Ayush in 2021.
That's right.
And I remember you were back and forth between India and the US. And when I texted you on Friday and it's Monday, like Thursday, you were here. So did you move? What's your story now? I know you got married.
Yeah, I'm in transition. We're waiting for my wife's.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I got married 18 months ago, and I'm waiting for my wife's visa for her to come here as well.
So how do you split your time between the two countries?
So I think last year, I think I spent more time in India. This year, probably I'll be spending most of my time in US.
So your main task in the US would be recruiting companies, right? Who will be...
Absolutely. Building the demand side. But also, I think as a company, we are moving in a direction because we stopped teaching. So then the talent pool just becomes very wide for us. Then we can just build the product and people can come on the platform from anywhere. So like in last 2 months, out of the 30,000 people which I mentioned, we had people come in from 23 different countries.
Did you place ads?
No.
How'd you get them?
Marketing budget is zero, but just organic. We've been doing a bunch of SEO and stuff like that, and newsletters, etc. We used to sponsor newsletters back last year.
For software engineers, right?
Correct,
like specific,
yeah. So we were surprised by that, that people from so many places are coming in. But I think when we saw that data, it also is very encouraging for us to build Pesto into a truly global brand where we can have engineers from Nigeria, from Europe, Poland, and all the other places, right? And I think there are some really good talent which is undiscovered in most of these places. So that's what we are going to go for. So
I think it's a genius business model. Honestly, because I'm a big fan of remote work, and I wish there was something for creators, like vetted editors or vetted thumbnail designers, because it's something that's needed, and I think it's going to come to the market. I know a lot of people are working on it, and it's great for us. The check is lower though, because if a creator pays the editor, it's not like Google paying the developers. It's a slightly different market. You dropped out of college, right?
I never went to college. Yes.
Oh, you never went?
Yeah.
Because I heard your story when you were like super miserable in college.
Yeah.
Like...
No, I think like less than 3 to 4 months probably.
That was your
yeah, correct.
time spent in college.
Never went there. I was just like, I took admission. So I'm from a very small town called Varanasi. And in order to I wanted to go to Delhi and really explore how the world is like. And in order to go to Delhi, I basically enrolled in a college. And my parents... for 2 years thought I'm going to college. But I had been working on startups ever since.
And interesting story that you were playing chess professionally, right?
Yes. I've played some open tournaments as well, but I've played in school, I've played nationals and stuff like that.
Do you still play chess?
One of my friends who I'm staying with loves playing chess, and we met sometime back 1.5 months ago when he was back in India. And we played some chess, and since then I just got back into it. So I'm starting to train again, and I'm loving that. But for like almost 5 years, I just never touched chess.
Do you think it's a great skill? Because when I'm asking this because when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, they all have a hobby connected with either playing chess or Rubik's Cube, something that requires logic, fast thinking. So as a mom,
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide
Yeah.
what type of activities my kids should do
Got
in
it.
order to succeed in life.
Got it.
So do you feel like chess taught you something that helped you in business?
I think like chess just helps me think faster. I think like a couple of things which I love doing, and it might be very personal to me because I had those experiences while growing up, but I love solving mechanics problems in physics. I just feel it just makes me think better, and I love doing math problems. It just helps me think faster.
And also
And
you
chess.
get this dopamine, like, yeah, I solved the problem.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And chess is another one. So 1.5 months ago, when my friend, started playing chess, and he, is a self-taught and stuff like that, and he actually beat me. And I was like, oh man, what happened? So it really got me going, and I was like, this can't happen. So I started training, and when I started actually playing speeches, so I love playing speeches. When I started playing speeches, I realized that, first initial few games, I felt like my brain has become so slow that it really started bothering me. So then I started training, and
But then you see how it speeds up, right?
100%. I've been training for like a month and a half, and
It's already
absolutely loving
back.
it.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that because when I was preparing for GMAT, you have to calculate everything in your head.
Yeah.
And I trained that skill for 2 months, and then I was surprised how easy it became for me to calculate everything in my head.
Absolutely.
But then it gradually went away after I took
Absolutely.
my
Yeah.
GMAT. So it's great that our brain is so flexible and you can
Yeah.
teach it to things.
Another thing I feel I would have loved to do as a kid is Mindstorm, right? Like Legos. I think that's a pretty good one. I've heard a lot of friends who did that as a kid, and we actually threw a Mindstorm party where we had a bunch of founders come in and they were building different things and things like that. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I was like, I wish I did this.
That's great.
as a kid as well. Yeah.
Noted for my kids. They're going to try all types of things. How has been, so you now live in SF, right? That's your permanent base. How has it been for you compared to India, like the whole lifestyle?
So I spent like 18 months here on my last trip before I went back to get married, and that's been nice. And I just came back. So I think pros and cons. I think India is absolutely full of opportunities right now, but I feel I'm somebody who loves building software, and a lot of consumers, based on the maturity of the market, the market is just here, right? Yeah. And also I just feel so much happier because a lot of my friends are here, and we get to do a lot of things together, hang out and things like that. I love being a part of that community, right? So I think I would still want to spend some time in India for the opportunity which is gonna come up in next 10 years, and I have my family back there, and I would love to go back every now and then. But I think Bay Area it just feels like
it's
home.
still the Bay Area, right?
Yes.
Interesting. So have you noticed this shift? Because I've been here for 10 years, almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
9 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And when we came, there was like the notion of the US being number one in almost everything. That was out of question. So for me, I was like, I was going to this place that is dominating almost every single industry. Now we're seeing China take over. Then, Ray Dalio's famous video and his theory that dollar is losing its power. What do you feel? What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like the US is still number one? Do you think it's kind of losing? Even car production, right? The US used to be number one automobile country. Now China is like exploding.
Yeah. So I think like this is a very, very macro economic
but I feel like,
and geopolitical
because you're also
question.
from India, I feel like
Yes.
India is also because the number of people, the pace of
100%.
innovation, how
Absolutely.
fast everything is.
It's incredible. The projects the infrastructure projects that are there is just like absolutely stunning. And I think next 10 years, it's going to look very different, right? But I think talking about like the world as a whole, I think, again, like my personal opinion, I'm not an expert here, but I feel that, US has been number one for a long time, and that's actually good for the world in many aspects, right? If you look at the alternates, it's kind of could be concerning potentially, right? But I feel that when it comes to software or technology, right, there is absolutely no question, right? Like the time I've spent here and the amount of action that is happening in AI, it's absolutely stunning. I'm just loving the energy here, and I just can't imagine anywhere else to be in the world with what's going on here in terms of ecosystem and innovation and the kind of projects that are there and energy as a whole, right? So that's there for sure. But long term, I feel that we are looking at a very strong India, very strong China for sure, and also kind of multipolar world, which I've heard is a very popular thing.
Oh.
Multipolar, which means that there is no one country.
It's already that.
It's already there, yeah. And I think it's just going to grow more and more stronger. And then there are certain countries where it's better for the whole world to, for example, India is world's largest democracy and has usually, if you really analyze in depth, I feel that we have done a lot of things for betterment of other countries without trying to get them into a loan trap or debt trap or anything like that, right? It's just to help.
And Indians in general are taking over the world. Even if you look at the Bay Area, so many top CEOs, so many founders. I just interviewed Erwin from Perplexity, Sampriti from Navier. And guys, this is this whole community of Indians. And I feel like a lot of CEOs that I meet, a lot of amazing founders are from India, especially from Chennai. It feels like this is the hub for.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we have Cricket World Cup happening in US as well this year.
Oh, wow. This is the first time?
Yes, it's the first time. Yes. So we'll have a lot of Indian people go there. But yes, I feel like one of the things which I was saying, more from geopolitical lens, a lot of things which I think goes unnoticed or is less noticed is things which India has just done for other countries, which is not as much noticed, in terms of supplying vaccines and so many other things, right? So I think India's position as globally true friend of the world is they're really putting their money where their mouth is, right? So I think that's very inspiring, and I think it's very good to really see that, to come from that land and then everybody doing the right things. Is just unbelievable, the kind of things which is there. For example, food delivery, right? If I order something on Instacart in Bay Area, I'll probably get it in a few hours, right? In India, you can order any groceries, medicine, whatever you want, and you get it in less than 10 minutes.
I know. Russia is the same. Or doctors. Awesome. You can call any doctor and they will come in 20 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's the next level. And I totally realized that with, how expensive labor is here, these areas of life in the US, they will be behind a lot of countries. And that what makes me a little bit upset. but
that's okay. It's not too bad.
I love the US, and I'm super excited about AI. And also when I go to meetups in San Francisco, I realize people came from all over the world.
Exactly.
Europe, India, everywhere, because this is the place. And I feel this is what's going to help the US. Still maintain its power. So
I was at a Blue Bottle the other day, and it was like browsing my Twitter feed live. So much going on at the same place.
Exactly. And you just hear the conversations and you're like, wow, I'm in the right place. It feels like everything is happening here.
Absolutely.
That's great. So how long has it been since you started the company?
It's been 5 years.
5 years. Where do you see yourself headed?
I think we started with the vision, which was very simple, right? I first came here and I was like, software engineers are just valued here so much differently, right? And there's so much to do, right? The US has more than 700K open software engineering job positions, but you just can't find enough people, right? It's a huge gap. And I think there's only so many software engineers which our colleges can graduate here, right? So I think I feel very attached to that mission, that there is a huge shortage of developers. And I feel there are plenty of really incredible people around the world who just don't get access to opportunities based on wherever they are. And I just want to bridge that gap, right? So I do feel that we were sort of a bit distracted with a couple of things here and there, which goes on with the iteration cycle when you build a startup. But I feel that we have really found our groove and just being the platform which does just that.
Do you think this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life, or you have other ideas as well?
No, I think I'm absolutely committed to this, and I want to do it for a long time. And I think with AI coming in, it's also becoming a lot more obvious that something like this must exist, right? Like I think in a couple of years, the entire recruitment cycle, right? It's just like, I don't know what the right equivalent would be. Like going to a restaurant and buying a burger versus ordering it and the burger arriving in 10 minutes, right? I think equivalent of that is going to happen in recruitment, where you just, tell the platform what you're looking for and you suddenly get it, and you just schedule time.
You ask a platform for a specific task and it just performs it.
Exactly. Yeah. And this whole, like idea of AI agents existing in AI understanding, because, like a recruiter or a human being can only process so many profiles, can only know so many colleges and perceptions of, different kinds of, but AI can know it all, right? So I think that's going to happen for sure, and I think that's an opportunity that I'm excited about.
And that sounds so crazy. Like if we talked 3 years ago, we would have had completely different,
very different
visions of the world.
I think like the business opportunity that we have today, probably it wouldn't exist without AI.
Yeah, exactly. Who was the most inspiring person you met on your journey of entrepreneurship?
Oh my goodness, this is a very tough one.
Because I guess you met a lot of people right here, India. Maybe if you could name someone here, so it's more relevant for the US audience.
For the audience, I have a lot of people who I feel deeply inspired by. Let me actually name someone who your audience probably will know.
Okay.
You know Keshav, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
He's my most viewed video on this channel.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's a ball of energy.
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's so funny how I met him. I was just in Palo Alto. My daughter was like 2 weeks old. We were sitting in a restaurant and he just walked by and he was like, "Oh, Silicon Valley girl, I watched your videos." And I'm like, "What do you do?" And he was at Y Combinator. And then I think a year later we met for a podcast.
Yeah. See, that's exactly what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like
so you're friends, right?
Yeah, we're friends. We lived together for a few, I think more than a year or so.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been, he's amazing. I think he's a ball of energy. And I think, just observing his journey just makes me understand what Silicon Valley is all about, right? He's an immigrant, really smart, Rubik's Cube champion, and did so many things, right? Yeah. And got the right access to opportunities that he deserved the moment he came here. Yeah. And that is the Silicon Valley dream, which is really, really inspiring.
Still exists, right?
Absolutely. Oh, no question about it. Especially like I was here a couple of years ago, and I can tell that after everything that happened in the last couple of years with AI, things are very different. It's just like so much more action. Absolutely loving being here. Yeah.
Another person, I think Yasha recommended him, Roman Saini. I met him.
Oh, yes. Roman is amazing. Yeah.
That guy, I think he's my inspiration of 2023 because when I met him and we had this conversation of how he built his whole company by starting a YouTube channel first.
Absolutely.
Because for me, it's super relevant.
Yes.
And hopefully we're going to get him on this podcast when he's here.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He's absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've known Gaurav more than Roman, but I know their story. One of my closest friends was their first angel investor. And it's just so inspiring, them to do what they've done. Yeah.
It feels really exciting to be living in 2024. It's also scary because, as a creator, I always worry like, are they going to replace us? But at the same time, I realized I can optimize a lot of my processes, and just like you're optimizing hiring. It's exciting. You just need to make sure you understand the opportunity and work with it versus just complaining that everything is going to be replaced.
Absolutely. It's just like, industrialization, when it happened, a lot of people were scared, but it worked out just fine. Yeah. And the world economy has grown more in the last 100 years than any other time, right? And I think most of the automation has happened in the last 100 years, right?
And we all have jobs. Well, most of us still have jobs. So
absolutely,
we're good.
So change is good if it's for the better, for sure.
Yeah. My last question: what would be your advice to someone sitting and watching in India and willing to come to the US to build a startup? Well, and they're in a small town, just like you, no real opportunity. What would be the action plan?
I think like one of the things which I've done, which I'm really grateful that I took that call, was pretty crazy. I first, when I moved to Delhi, I was like, I used to get projects make money, spend all that money on building some other project, right? On my startups. And there was a point when I was like pretty exhausted because I had done this couple of cycles and I was young. I thought like building a website is equal to building a company, or building an app is like that. But I was building, but I was lacking something, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a point when I was like really bankrupt. I had like some $70-$80 in my pocket, and somebody told me about this opportunity that there was this conference happening in Hong Kong called Rise, and then from there we could come to another conference in US and come to the Bay Area, right? Mm-hmm. I instantly booked my tickets. I literally had $70. I didn't have a place to stay.
What kind of conference was it?
This was Rise in Hong Kong.
What is it? Sorry, I don't know. I'm not familiar.
It's a startup conference. I think they basically get a whole bunch of. It's like a startup grind equivalent for Asia. Mm-hmm. And I just went there. I didn't have passes or like place to stay or anything. Yeah. And I was like, okay, let me just go there and figure it out. And I did go there, and I did figure out something.
What happened there?
So when I went there, I just called one of my friends who guided me on where to take the bus from and where to go, etc. Then I reached there. Then I ended up becoming friends with one of the speakers. So I got the speaker pass of the conference, and then he took me along. We spent a bunch of time at the conference. I got a place to stay at another friend's place who I just met at the conference, and it just went on and on from there, right? And then I made a bunch of friends and came to Silicon Valley, and the journey just started, right?
And you started a company when you were here or back in India?
When I came here, a long time after when I came here, yeah. But I think there is this just like one thought which just held me back for more than a year, maybe 1 to 2 years, was that I'll build something nice and it'll work and then I'll go, right? I don't think we should do that. If you're young and you are thinking about this, traveling should be number one priority. I think traveling leads to your world becoming so much bigger. Like a good analogy is frog of the well does not understand the depths of the ocean, right? Just jump in the ocean, right? Don't overthink it. And it's just amazing how beautiful the ocean is. And it's amazing how many people will turn up to help you. Mm-hmm. You just can't think of that. So I'm really grateful to everybody.
Travel, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to so many people who just showed up in my life randomly, and were really generous to help me, guide me, became mentors, became some of my best friends, and stuff like that. So if you're considering moving to Silicon Valley, don't wait to build something and make it work, etc., because you don't know what you don't know.
But how do you maintain your life? Like, how do you pay for rent if you're not building? I think
there are ways, right? Like,
how did you survive
let's
the first
talk
year?
about. I used to sleep in someone's garage in India. When I was there, I wanted to completely focus on reading and building. Like, I could make money by doing consulting, but I chose to. There's this co-working space called Innovate in Connaught Place, and they said their office is 24/7. I said, great. So I basically worked all day, slept there, and took a shower in the gym, right? Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of people, I feel like I met a lot of people who did that, and they also would go to a startup meetup to eat.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I feel like that's an extreme version of it. Don't do that. That's highly not recommended because it ended up.
But for some people, that's the only way.
It's not. So I think like there are better ways, like crashing on somebody's couch or or in somebody's closet, and stuff like that. And I think like there are plenty of people who will help you with. You know, if I have a house in Silicon Valley and a founder reaches out, I'll of course offer my couch any day to them, right? And I think that many people think like that, right? Yeah. So all you have to do is ask, right? Hustle and ask people. And if you really want to do something and genuinely want to build something, and you know, if you're passionate, I think the summary was more people will show up to help you than what you expect. And that's the beauty of Silicon Valley. It's really beautiful. That
that a lot of people help each other. That comes when you don't expect it.
Absolutely.
And everyone is really open to helping beginner entrepreneurs.
100%.
And they like believe in you. Yeah. That was what I felt when I came here, because it felt like, you have to prove yourself first, but they were like, because you're building things, because you're trying, let me help you.
Absolutely. And even today, the habit I picked up, I realized that it started with me not being able to afford a place. So I used to crash with people. But there is so much beauty in it, right? That when you travel, especially when you're sort of doing business, I prefer staying with my friends over staying in an Airbnb or whatever, right? Because it leads to so many amazing conversations. We get to hang out a lot and things like that, right? And it's just, life is so much fun when you live that way. So even today, I would not. I just stayed with a couple of my friends, and it was amazing, right? It's so I think that's just beautiful.
Yeah, I will wrap up your advice with my last advice. Do that before you have kids. Because now we stay at our friend's place, but we need at least 2 bedrooms. So not everyone can provide us with that. But totally, we still do that. We always, if we travel, we stay with friends.
She has more experience.
Yeah, so if you're 20 something, just go ahead and explore the world. Really, it will be just much harder once you have a family.
Also, it doesn't really cost a lot. It's,
yeah. I also collect miles on your credit card. All right. That was super useful. Thank you so much. I will leave your LinkedIn. I know when Keshav came to my podcast, his LinkedIn was flooded by DMs. I'm going to do the same to you. Leave your LinkedIn. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I think it was super inspiring. And all the best with providing people with opportunity to work for great companies.
Yeah. Thank you so much for hosting me. It was so much fun
to
be on this podcast. Yeah.